Go. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm David Gross,
I'm Cynthia Han.
and we're presenting IEEE Episode 2. This week it's going to be a special one because it's near the holidays, hence the theme. And we're also going to be everybody on this podcast right now are freshmen. Everyone's an AO, and so we're going to have kind of a freshman themed podcast. To recap our pretty amazing, pretty eventful, and kind of weird first semester at the University of Texas at Austin. Just right off the bat, just like with our first episode, even though we're with IEEE, the opinions that we hold, the stories that we tell, aren't necessarily reflective of IEEE's interests or opinions. So kind of set those aside. Okay, so I'll let my two, or my, both of the two AOs present themselves.
Hey, what's up? I'm Bryan Ding, and as David said, I am a freshman in ECE. Fun fact about me is I'm a diehard Chelsea fan, and I also was in the drumline for 2 years in high school.
Hey guys, I'm Malvika. Again, as David said, I'm also a freshman in ECE. A fun fact about me actually is I'm in Arkansas right now, which is why I'm wearing this coat and this turtleneck. So don't worry, I'm not sitting at home like randomly in a coat. So yeah, that's kind of a fun fact about me. And also, I have a twin sister who also goes to UT Austin right now, except she's not in engineering, she's in the College of Natural Sciences. And other than that, yeah, I'm the internal activities and events AO, and some hobbies and things that I've been picking up because of COVID has been reading. I've been reading a ton, so if you ever need book recs, definitely come to me.
All right, yeah. So that's those are the two new guests that we have, and I guess because this was a freshman themed podcast, like Cynthia and I planned, one of the first questions right off the bat was basically, how was your freshman experience like? Are there any funny stories? Like what hit you instantly? What was kind of weird? What was kind of scary? Anybody's welcome to go first.
I think for me, freshman year, it was definitely an experience because I was staying on campus and I didn't have a roommate actually, so I was just staying in the room alone. And I think that was a very unique experience because I kind of had to learn how to be independent and stuff like that. I didn't really have to change my schedule that much, so I think I did get a little bit lucky in that way because with a roommate, it's you guys have to coordinate and stuff, like Zoom calls when you're gonna do all your things. So for me, I didn't have to compromise in that way, but it was still really different because I'm used to just going downstairs and my twin will be there and we'll just be talking, or my family will be there. And so it's just different, not really having a roommate and stuff. So I think that aspect was different for me. But I do really think I enjoyed my freshman year. It was just a bit of a transition period, but I think having a good community of students and professors really helped the transition for me. So that's a bit of how I thought it went.
Yeah, similar to Malvika, I was also on campus. I was in Jester, and luckily for me, my whole I was living in a dorm with suite mates, so it's kind of like two rooms share the same restroom, and we were all from the same high school, and we were all in the same major, and we were also all taking the same classes. So Zoom calls and everything wasn't a problem. We were all in it at the same time, and if we needed help on labs and or stuff, we could help each other. Because sometimes the EC Discord is helpful, especially for 302, but sometimes it takes a while for them to get back to you. So it's it was lucky for me to have dorm mates that were also in my major, so we could help each other out on those labs and stuff. But the thing that hit me the most was how is a virtual environment, because the only virtual environment I kind of did before UT was maybe the second semester of my senior year, and I don't think that was a really good representation of how the levels of difficulties and stuff. So I was really nervous coming into my freshman year at UT because of this virtual environment. I didn't know how things were going to go. I don't know how things were going to be proctored. So it kind of caught me off guard a little bit. But luckily for us, we had a good faculty, we had a good staff. We had IEEE to help us kind of adapt to this new environment. So I say at the end of the day, we were able to adjust relatively well and make the best of a weird situation.
Yeah, I think one thing that Bryan was talking about, just the adapting to the virtual platform. One thing that was a little bit challenging for me though was labs for 302. So I just the circuit thing was a new thing, like working with the Arduino was very new and stuff like that. And I feel like sometimes when there's like a problem, like with the wires or something like that, you know how in like normal circumstances we just like go in person and then whatever like the TAs and people would like help us figure it out in person. So I think at first it was a little bit challenging, but I think that they adapted really well because like they had like calls for the lab sessions and I would just like either send them pictures of my circuit board or I would just like show my camera. So I think that like got resolved pretty well. But like I think for me personally, like in terms of academics, that was like a little more challenging getting help on that aspect because like that was just like one of my weaker points, like building those like circuits and like diagrams and stuff. But like I think it ended up working out okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I would say to add on to that, like, yeah, so I was from home. I stayed home this semester. And so I went on campus a few times. And I know, like, even though we didn't have like in-person labs, I think one thing that I really liked was Discord. And so I could like really just like text my UGA whenever. And sometimes I would text her at like 1 a.m. I'd be like, sorry, I know this is late, but I do have a question. And so I think that one good thing is like, they're just like a text away. And so if you just text them about whatever, any questions you may have or any problems that you might be having with your lab, I think they're super accessible and it's a lot easier just to like reach out to them. And so I think that was a good alternative to just being in person. But yeah, I would say, just to add on, I think, especially since I was at home this semester, I think I definitely did not become as independent as I could have been. Like my mom still made all my meals for me, and my parents like reminded me to sleep early. But yeah, I think definitely I'm really looking forward to going on campus, hopefully sophomore year, because I think I'm staying at home for one more semester. And so, yeah, but I think definitely the transition like to online and virtual, I think it was actually pretty good because especially we had like the Discord EC servers and a lot of the UJs and TAs, they had a lot of office hours like throughout the week. So you could really go just like whatever fit your schedule. And so I think that was something that I really liked about ECE and how they like transitioned.
Yeah, I was going to talk about how you guys mentioned the Arduino boards, and so I guess the thing that hit me the most was I'm a guy that likes to talk, likes to be with people like in person, face to face, and little tiny details like that made the experience, I guess I don't know, but maybe like less of enjoyable. Like for example, when I did like the first two labs with the Arduino board, right? You have that middle part of the wire that sticks into the breadboard, right? So you know how like technically half of that metal wire will not like go all the way through, inside the hole. Well, I wasted like half of my inventory jamming them through there because I really thought that you had to jam. So I had to buy a new breadboard. But like if I was like in person in the lab, obviously a TA would notice like, hey, buddy, like you don't have to put it all the way. But I was like putting it all the way in there. I was breaking so many of them. Uh, so that was bad. But one thing I loved so much though was the Discord. And for those of people that are viewing it, I mean, maybe you guys are. But if you're not familiar with Discord, I thought it was like an app only meant for like super like nerds that are gaming all the time. And in which case, some parts of it is, but other parts it is so useful. Like even better than Slack, any of their messaging I've ever used before because there's like there's voice channels. There's of course there's like private messages, but there's like subsections inside like a particular class or whatever things you want like lab issues, homework issues, final exam preparation and all that. And that's kind of like how I made most of my friends. I was actually really surprised how I would literally like ask a question on the Discord, like anybody understand number 4 on the homework. I'd get help and I'd be like, oh hey, I saw your profile picture. It has like a soccer ball in it. You play soccer? And bingo bongo, right there, friends, already planning like, to join like an intramural team. So that's basically how I made friends. And for those of you guys that are on the ECE Discord, you probably have seen me goofing off, but honestly, it's just kind of like who I am. So I don't think I'd like miss too much of the social aspect. It was just more like that hands-on teaching that I kind of missed. But what else though? Oh yeah, another thing that surprised me so much about college was two things. So first and foremost, I don't know about you guys, but in high school, right? So the classes were like, so and so, right? but it was pretty hard to like fail one because we had like these things called daily grades, right? And even like some assessments were kind of like freebies, right? You could go in there not really studying, you'd have like a partner or something, and it wouldn't be the end of the world if you messed up on it, right? Because you had so many other assignments to do. But in like 306 and 302, especially 302, you had like 3 midterms. That's it. That was like 50% of your grade. And that like scared the living crap out of me, because you messed up on one and you're already down and it's all cumulative, right? And the other thing also was, um, well, I would say not so much like my STEM classes in high school, but like, for example, like US history or even like world history, it was memorization based, right? So you could kind of get away with messing up on one unit and maybe even like studying the night before, because then again, it's just like a Quizlet away, right? It's just memorizing dates and even like calculus, let's say, just some certain formulas and you were all right. But 302 and 306 were different beasts because there it just took practice. You know what I mean? It wasn't any memorization. It was you had to put in your work. It was like the best way to compare it is like kind of like lifting weights at a gym. You know what I mean? You can't just cram all the like the weightlifting sessions into one night before the final lift or whatever you want to call it. You got to build that knowledge up. So those two things hit me hard, but thankfully I still graduated with some above average grades. So I'm proud of that. Um, but what's it called? Yeah, so that's kind of how my freshman experience was like, making friends online, breaking half my wires, doing good on the last test because I finally learned how to study. And yeah, so what's it called? The one other thing that what's it called? I also wanted to bring up, and you guys can talk about this too, was IEEE, and I think ECE, the major as a whole, when it came to the freshman body, for lack of a better word, they were so wholesome. I never met anybody who wasn't willing to help, any professor that wasn't willing to help. But even like with our IEEE like officer board, we had the study sessions. I know, for example, Jacob helped me out a lot, like, looking at like different like career paths like this early. I don't know. I just thought that when I first looked at it, I thought ECE was going to be like I mean, don't be wrong, it is competitive, right? But like a cutthroat environment where it's to each his own. But I did not get that experience at all, and I'm super thankful for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had the exact same like idea coming in, so I was kind of scared because like I don't want to say that my high school was like excessively cutthroat, but I definitely think that like in STEM and just like in the comp sci clubs and like all that, people were like really competitive. And I don't know if it was just like the college competition or something coming out, but because of that, I was just kind of like skeptical about like going into UT, like especially for engineering, since I know it's like such a good program. But like definitely, I agree. The people have been really open and helpful. I know like I was freaking out. I was like stressing out so much about one of the grades for one of my tests. And I like called Nirthi on the phone and she was just like talking to me and like calming me down and stuff like that. And it was just like really sweet how like people are there for each other. Like even for my fig on honestly, like it's not like I necessarily talk to a lot of them individually, but if I like send them a homework question or something like that, like people immediately respond. Whereas sometimes I feel like in my high school, like if you weren't really friends with someone, it was kind of weird for you to ask them for help. I don't know if you guys like experienced that too, but maybe there just wasn't as strong of a community in high school or something. But here it's like I feel like I don't necessarily have to be like really close to them to like ask someone for guidance or for help or something because people are just that willing. So that's what I was really grateful for at least.
No, yeah. What's it called? As kind of the same scenario in my high school, where unless you're friends with somebody, you can kind of like ask for help on a certain assignment or to clear up a subject. But ECE, it just nothing brings people together more than like a common struggle. You know what I mean? Like I really, really brings someone together. It's always funny saying that, but it's so true. Because when everyone's suffering, it feels good to help others and to receive help. And one thing that was also really important too was I found out a really good way to study was in teaching the subject to somebody else. Because if you're teaching a subject to somebody else and you keep on saying a lot of uhs and then you don't know the subject like, to perfection. But if you can flawlessly teach someone like a method or, anything in 306 or 302, and come out of there with them asking you questions and you being able to respond them accurately, that's when you have a subject pinned down. And I just wish I would have learned all that sooner. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for sure I'll similar things as all of y'all. So like, I know when I first came in, I was actually a little surprised and like taken back a little bit because everyone was definitely super helpful. I feel like I'm just reiterating what y'all are saying, but like for real, the Discord and especially our IEEE officers team, they were definitely super helpful and probably the best officer team I've worked with so far. No offense to my past officer teams, but I know in high school, I think we weren't like cutthroat, but like it was definitely pretty competitive. And yeah, if you didn't really know somebody, you wouldn't really ask help from them. But like just coming into here, even though like we barely knew one another, like just even on the Discord, if somebody just asked a question, so many people would be really willing to help. And I think that was a really good, I think that really made me feel pretty thankful that I was a part of like the UTEC community. And so, yeah, and I think that was just a really good motivator just for me to, continue studying ECE and just like to know that like I sort of took the right path.
Yeah, and also like what caught me off guard was like not everyone was willing to help just like on academics as well. Like they were willing to help on like, like your health, your mental well-being, your career paths in the future. Shameless plug, IEEE Discord helps a lot. There's like a well-being channel that kind of motivates, well, it motivated me to like exercise more as I like see other people like exercise as well. And then like there's also like a career paths channel where people talk about the certain tech cores EC majors can go into, and it kind of like brings insight into like how I like view the EC major. And then it's really helpful, especially like now when like everything's virtual. You maybe like now don't have as much access to like people as you would in person, but like we're a freshman, we're coming in, we don't really know that much like compared to others. So like with these like virtual mediums, we're able to like kind of connect with others and kind of understand like what we want to do in the future better, and kind of like help us in the moment as well.
For sure. Yeah, I think
okay, go ahead.
just one more thing I wanted to add was, yeah, as Bryan was talking about it, definitely mental health was definitely just something that really came up because I know in high school, I'm not sure about y'all, but I really did not focus on mental health at all. And like, I really just like pushed that aside just for like mostly for academics. But I think coming into college, it was definitely a lot more important to like focus on your mental health. And yeah, one more thing I wanted to add was also on Discord, I think the IEEE Discord, I think there's a channel for the Ask Anyone and like the academic help. And I think that was definitely super helpful because literally anybody could like ask any question they had. And especially because freshmen, as they're just coming in, like we don't really know that much about tech cores. And like, there's so many aspects of ECE that, we want to see which one we fit into, that I think it was really helpful just to have that channel just to like really just ask anybody. And like everyone was really willing to just, like answer anybody's questions and like just be helpful. And so I think that was something that I really liked as well.
No, yeah. I think now would be a perfect time to switch on over to one of my favorite sections of the podcast, and that's basically just, I guess this would be like a tradition now maybe, but a philosophical question or just a big question in general, the one that like will spark like, a conversation. And so but like earlier this week I was with some friends and we watched that movie The Big Short. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that movie, but it's okay. It's going to sound super boring, but I promise you it's not. It's about the 2008 recession, the stock market crisis. And basically like it was about a couple of investors that managed to like short the stock or like bet against the housing market and ended up make money off of the recession. But while they were talking about like the corruption that was happening, within these banks and whatnot, one of my friends brought up this really, really good question that kind of applies to everything. And he said, is there such a thing as, or like, should like the disastrous effects of like a faulty product or an idea, who should that be blamed on? Like the producer or the consumer or both? And I don't know if I may feel like a weird question to ask, but it's like, for example, like if I were to sell like a a poisonous food or something that like disastrous to your health. But like, if you would have done more as a consumer, if you would have done more research, what's it called? Should the effects of that product, should it be blamed on the consumer or the producer? So do you guys understand like the question in a
Yeah.
way?
Yeah.
Um, and right off the bat, like this is went through the entire movie, and I have to say I blame it on the producer, and because of one thing, it's all about like intentions. So basically, a producer or like a consumer, whenever they buy a product, it's already kind of assumed in their head that the product that they're buying is trustworthy, or the idea that they're agreeing to is trustworthy, it's genuine, and it's not supposed to be harmful. So that attention should be like uniform for everybody, every producer. They should be making products or ideas that are quality, and it shouldn't be blamed on the consumer because it's not their fault, because they rightfully assumed that it was okay. It wasn't their responsibility to do further research or anything like that. If they listened and read what the consumer said originally, it should be like a fine product. And now that I say the question, it's kind of weird. But if you watch the movie, it was like it presents itself in a much better aspect. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Okay, technically, like, I do agree with you. Like, I think that it's the responsibility of like that company or whatever to be advertising their products correctly, to like be researching and making sure that they're like distributing like their best product and their highest quality thing. And I think that's perfect in an ideal world, but I just feel like in the world nowadays where there's so much like corruption and just like loopholing and all that stuff, I feel like this isn't fair, but I think that the consumer now has to be more like aware and conscious of like the products that they're consuming. So like even though technically I think the blame is on the producer, I feel like nowadays the consumer should maybe be taking a little bit of responsibility to like research a little bit more, to just kind of like make sure what they're consuming is okay. Because it's just like I think about like there's a lot of websites and like different platforms that are like, oh, this is virus free and stuff like that. Like if you download this book, like it's just a free download, whatever. You just like download the book, put some information in, like put your email in or whatever. And then like they advertise it as like fine, right? And like obviously the fault isn't the producer because as you said, David, the intention is bad. But I also think that like at this point, like the consumer like should know, okay, there's a website that's giving me free stuff if I put in my email supposedly, and that's really fishy to me. So I think that's something that they should kind of watch out for. But like yeah, for sorry, I'm kind of rambling. I'm almost done. But like for products that are like it's harder to tell if a producer or like company is like conning you, like I know like yeah, like that it's tough. It's like it's a fine line between like a consumer just researching and being responsible as much as they can and like the producer's intentions and whatnot. But I don't know if I was clear, but do y'all know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say like
No, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
the
I mean, of
producer's
course,
fault, but like now we can't be naive anymore, we just have to take it into our own hands now.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, okay, actually, because honestly, I'm the type of guy like if a new opinion is presented and it's presented well, I'll change my mind, within a matter of seconds. And what you just said made a lot of sense. I guess, I mean, maybe it's more like a case by case. You know what I mean? I feel like if
Yeah,
it
for
was some
sure. Yeah.
food product or a drug product, I guess in that case, I wouldn't necessarily want to blame the consumer. But if it's something where like I'm selling like a product on eBay or Amazon, and like my purpose was to kind of fool the consumer, but so I put like I don't know, I'm selling this shirt for $25, but in like the super fine print, I say no, and actually this shirt is like a picture of a shirt, or whatever, something stupid like that. Then I guess yeah, you could blame the consumer because it was in the fine print. You shouldn't like punish people for finding loopholes. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I just feel like maybe in an ideal world, in David's perfect world, the producer would be punished because it's just unethical to be doing those loopholes. You know what I mean? It's like if you present a product just like that or any product, the consumer should just go in there with the best intentions and knowing that you aren't trying to harm them in any way. But then again, I still see your point though. Like, again, there's nothing set. Cynthia and Bryan, what do y'all think?
I think the blame could be put on both. like maybe it's not like equal blame. Like maybe I think the producer should get like a little bit more blame, but it's also like, let's say the producer like sells a device with like a flammable battery, and then the consumer, like blows it up by misusing it, then okay, yeah, then that's like consumer's fault. But like, I can honestly, I can find more cases where maybe the producer can be at fault, but like, um, I think we should also like take into account like the consumer is also like, there are circumstances where consumers are also in fault as well.
Yeah, I think I would say that it is both of their faults, but I would say it's 80% producer and like 20% consumer, because the producer's job in the first place is to make like not faulty products. They're supposed to work, and that's what their job is. So technically, like faulty products wouldn't have happened in the first place if they had just done their job correctly. But yeah, like Malvika said, I think in this day and age and like in our society, we like consumers can't be naive. So we do need to be a little cautious in like the products that are like online. And so I think it is more the producer's fault, but consumers do have blame a little bit, because I think one other thing I was thinking about was, let's say like going back to David's example, like if you had like poisonous food, then technically maybe the producer didn't know that they were serving poisonous food, but if the consumer doesn't say anything about it, then they wouldn't know. So I think consumers they need to be responsive of like giving feedback, I guess, or like saying when something's wrong, because then otherwise there's no way that like the company would know that they're doing something wrong. And so that's sort of what I think.
Yeah, sorry, Brian and I are in Houston. I don't know if you guys are hearing that. Wait, can you guys hear that in the background or no? No, okay,
No.
because it's like raining like cats and
Yeah.
dogs out there. It's like pounding.
Oh,
So, whatever. Okay, yeah, I just want to put that out there if it was like annoying you guys or something, because my window is raining so hard right now. Um, but I guess that's a good stopping point for that question, because in my head it sounded like a really like good question. It was like, but it's these
Oh,
questions are
it
supposed
was
to
a
be
good
like
It
hard
was a
hard
good
to like
question.
understand, like
yeah.
hard to think about like a set. Like that's why they're there. I could have asked you a simple question like, "What's your favorite color?" But then again, it's like that's too easy. Something that'll like, you know, and like literally, I'm open, like changing my mind 24/7. Um, but we have another question though, and this question I think is a lot more fun and a lot less serious than poisonous food and all that. And basically, it's really simple. Um, because the semester's ended, I've been watching a lot of movies, but like good movies. We're not talking like the Lego movie or anything. We're talking like quality cinema. And I was just wondering, what is y'all's favorite book or movie? And is there like a specific reason as to why that is your favorite?
And to add on, maybe if since it's like a little more of like the holiday season right now, you could say like your favorite like winter holiday book or movie too. And so yeah, whatever y'all want to talk about.
I think David triggered a bunch of Lego movie fans by saying that comment before.
Yeah. Okay. The Lego movie was good. It was just, I wouldn't put it like best picture, in the
Yeah.
Oscars. That's what I'll give. Um, but I think actually I like what Cynthia said though about a holiday themed movie, and I think my personal favorite has to be Home Alone, and that's because my grandma would have that DVD, and it was like super super old, right? And she had the VCR tape also, but I would always watch that when I came to their house, like always, and I have almost every single line memorized. I went through this phase also where I thought that if any burglar came into our house, I could do what he did. So, I was putting like nails on stairs and stuff. That wasn't really the best idea, but yeah, I got caught before, anyone. Don't worry, no one steps on the nails. But I always thought that was really interesting, really really fun, and even the second movie is really good too. The one where they go to New York, that one was really good too. But I think my favorite movie. Oh, it's hard though. Okay, yeah, I know what it is. It's The Shawshank Redemption. Have any of you guys seen that?
I think
I heard of
I
it. I heard of
watched
it. I don't think I
Oh no,
watched it.
it's fantastic. Basically, a guy gets convicted of going to jail for murdering his wife. Wait, that was kind of a big. Oh, I said that's a weird tongue. Anyway, he goes to jail and he befriends a guy named what's it called? Red, played by Morgan Freeman. Wait, that's his name, right? Red. Yeah. And he was there for about 20 years, and it's pretty much his story in jail. Now, on paper, it sounds super boring, but it's so, so interesting. Like, you're glued to the TV for the next 2 hours. And my favorite book, I liked Angela's Ashes. It's a story about, it's like a memoir of this kid in Northern Ireland or in Ireland. And basically he goes to like super, super intense poverty, like super intense poverty. But at the same time, he manages to like provide like a really good insight that like critiques like some parts of Irish culture in his family. And I don't know, I read it during, it was so good that you guys, for those, wait, is everyone here from Texas? We take like the star test, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
was so good that I finished my star test like, like super, super early, right? And I got that book from my dad and I just started reading it and I finished it within 2 days. Like during like that, like, when you just, because it's like after you finish the test, they're like, oh, you can pull out a book and read, and I was like glued to that. It was so interesting. Yeah, that's my favorite book, movie, and holiday themed movie.
Yeah, I can go next. Okay, so my movie is gonna sound kind of comical now based on David's, but like the only thing I can think of right now that I really enjoyed recently, and it was kind of like it was released during the winter holiday. It was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know, kind of did that one was just like, okay, yeah, that movie like exceeded all expectations for me, and I'm like a big Spider-Man stan. So like especially that movie when they brought in like Miles Morales and everything, and like his story, his plot was like it was super different, and it was kind of like starting from the bottom and going to the top. It was like I was like, okay, yeah, this is a nice movie, and it was like also holiday theme as well. So whenever I watch it, I keep getting reminded of Christmas. And then my favorite book, I don't have like a favorite book, but I have like a favorite series that was my favorite series since like middle school. It was like the Percy Jacksons and like the Heroes Olympus series. Like I think I've read the series like 3 times now. And then yeah, I think yeah, that's by far my favorite series.
Oh my gosh, I was actually thinking of saying Percy Jackson because that's actually probably one of my favorite series too. And I think recently, I was talking with another friend in the ECE, and he's also rereading the Percy Jackson series. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should get to that too. But yeah, definitely Percy Jackson. Just, are y'all Harry Potter fans? I think Percy Jackson is better than Harry Potter.
No.
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 But
That ain't it, Chief. That's not.
no, Percy Jackson. In my opinion.
Yeah, for me, I thought in middle school you either had to choose Percy Jackson or Harry Potter.
Mhm.
So I never read Harry Potter. I thought you had to choose one of them. I might have to read Harry Potter. Like I always wanted to read it, but like I thought you had to choose one of them. I didn't know you could like people were supposed to read both. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think I read, so like, this is just my opinion, but I did read a few of the not Percy Jackson, Harry Potter books. And then I stopped after like the third one because like personally for me, they're getting a little long and like, I don't know, it's just, there's like are there 8 books total in Harry Potter? There's a lot of books, but I don't know. I think for me, just personally, I found Percy Jackson more interesting. And so, yeah, that would be my book series.
Everyone knows the best book series of all time though is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So you just read those like in 10 minutes. I go to Barnes and Noble. Here's what's so crazy. I don't know if that's considered stealing, but I would read the book by the time my mom finished her coffee and like whatever pastry treat she had at the Starbucks in Barnes and Noble, I would have already finished the Diary of a Wimpy Kid novel. So there was no point at that point. I would just get there and just like skip through all the pages and it'd be
Oh my gosh.
easy.
Wait, that's a strat. Just go to Barnes and Noble and just
Yeah,
read the
that's
books.
I would be
Yeah.
good. Easy
Oh
money.
my.
Wait, have y'all heard of the Warrior Cats series?
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, I love the Warrior Cats.
I read all of them. I would hoard the books like a crazy person. I would go to Barnes and Nobles. I would like sit there and read them while like having a coffee. Like it was
Oh my gosh. Wait, bro,
Okay, here.
crazy.
we should all
Here,
just
here.
go to Barnes and Nobles one day and just like
Yeah,
read
just
all the
binge
books.
the books. Wait, for Warriors Cats, have y'all finished the series, right?
No,
Yeah.
I read like one book.
Bro, I don't even know this
Okay.
series.
Okay, spoiler alert, you guys can mute this section. But y'all like remember how like the last book Firestar died?
Yeah.
That was so anticlimactic. They just like killed him. I was like, oh my.
Yeah.
Wait, can
That,
I ask
I
what is
guess.
the series about?
Like
I've
cats
never.
that are warriors, right?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like the human world, but like there's stray cats, right? And then like the cats are like in like clans and like packs and stuff, and then they're like fighting for territory and like stuff like that. So it's interesting. It sounds really weird, but I promise you it's really good.
It's actually
Um,
so good, yeah.
I
And
might
like
need.
I got so attached to some of the characters when they died, and I'm like, they're cats. But then I was like, it was still like so
Yeah.
emotional.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with my reading though. Like, so I actually don't read that often, or when I do it, it's not like I don't like read like novels. It'll be more of just like I got in the weird thing of like reading atlases and encyclopedias, like that type of thing. But other than that, though, when it comes to novels though, like I don't know what happened in the middle of middle school, I hit like a jump. Like I went from reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid to reading like Angela's Ashes and like The Shining and like political novels, and I was like, I don't know what happened, but I skipped that Warriors phase or whatever. Um, uh, now I kind of though I don't. I read like super weird books in like middle school. That's why no wonder my teachers gave me like a weird look. I pop up with like Cujo or Misery. And they're like, what are you reading? And I'm like, just a book. Um,
David's too
um,
big brain.
no. Like, no, those books, I just like them because they were scary. Like, those like Stephen King novels, like they were easy to read, but they were just scary because like I would like lose like focus when reading like a book like Warriors or something. You know what I mean? But then if it was something where like, there's like a burglar inside the house, I'd be like, all right, yeah, I'm in.
Wait,
Um,
David, have you watched The Shining? You said you read it, right?
yeah.
It's such a classic. It's literally so
No,
good.
it's a weird movie too. The way that he directed it, because there's all these like little, like, I think what makes that movie so scary was it wasn't even there's no like like jumps like scare scenes and like that, but just like the whole ambiance, in the hotel, you're all alone and you're going crazy with cabin fever, and like the music. No, yeah, that's what makes that movie scary. And the book, okay, I know you hear it all the time, but the book is infinitely better. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
it gives insight into Jack Torrance's backstory. Before he became the what's it called, a overkeeper, like like the person at the hotel. So yeah, it's really good. But yeah, so I think wait, did everyone already list down their favorite movie and book then, pretty much?
Well, I will. Okay, I said Warrior Cats, but I also really like this book called Verity by Colleen Hoover, and it's like a mystery thriller. It's kind of creepy, but I don't know. I really like reading like creepy things in the winter because it's just like it's so nice to like cuddle up when it's cold outside, like open up like a creepy book or like watch a horror movie or something. Like it's always so much fun. But basically, like I won't ruin too much of the plot for you, but Verity is about like this woman who's an author and she like I don't know, she has some strange type of illness or something, and she ends up being paralyzed. So another woman comes to take her place to finish her books because she was like in the middle of writing a series. So she goes to the same house as the author who's paralyzed, and like her replacement is writing her books for her, right? And then at night she always hears noises. Like sometimes she go downstairs and she sees a pair of eyes and stuff. Like she all these creepy things start happening, and then like she starts to wonder is that woman actually paralyzed or is she pretending to be paralyzed, and if she's pretending to be paralyzed, like why. And like it doesn't sound that interesting, but let me tell you, it's one of the scariest books I've ever read. Like it was so creepy. I literally stayed up the whole night after that. Like it was so creepy, and like it's really good. You guys should definitely check it out if you like thrillers and creepy stuff.
Y'all are built different. I can't watch anything or read
Yeah, I
anything
can't
scary.
either.
Like, bro, like okay. I will get nightmares for 3 days, and then okay, I like during the movies and stuff, like whenever I'm forced to watch like a scary movie, like you'll see me in the movie theater, I'm curled up in a ball and like plug my ears. Like I can't look at anything. Like I scary movies and me, we don't go together.
Yeah, I think no, I would say the same thing. Like, in fact, even for me, I don't think I've ever watched a scary movie because I'm just like already scared by like everybody like talking about it, and so I'm like, bro, I'm not watching because if I watch it, like I won't be able to sleep. And like I literally, so I watched. Do y'all know? It's a Korean movie, but it's like a zombie apocalypse. It's called Train to Busan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh.
yeah, okay, I
So
watched that and literally it was more sad than it was scary, but I literally couldn't even like walk across my house. Like I literally asked my mom to like go with me because I was actually like the zombies are sort of scary and like that's really scary because like they run sort of fast, and so like they could easily like like yeah. So bro, I can't. But
I was the, I mean, I was going to move on to that question about any tips for incoming freshmen, but I think we kind of already answered that in the first question. We talked about experiences, basically, like, study hard and all that, right? We mentioned it before, but I really like this conversation, though. I think we're going to stick with this, but I was going to mention how I was the same way, like all throughout like sophomore years of high school, like no horror movies at all. Like I watched the movie Jaws, and then I was afraid to go in the pool, you know what I mean? Like afraid of the sharks. But the whole like experience of watching horror movies changes when I never watched them alone. When you watch them with groups of friends, like, oh, it is perfect. No, it's perfect. Like you'll be cuddling with them. I mean, it's perfect, bro. No, I promise you, because when you're watching it too, like I do the same thing too. Like I curl up and I'm like afraid to look, but that's what brings the excitement though. It's kind of like a roller coaster in a way. You know what I mean? And if you watch a really good one, not one of those like cheesy ones, like I saw, okay, this isn't like a horror movie, it's not like a thriller, but I saw Scream, for example. And I thought that was still like a really like good movie. Like it was cheesy, I know, but that was kind of like, I mean, I didn't really seem to care. Um, but I think the best horror movie I've ever seen, um, I know like good thrillers. I saw the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and that was a really good movie. But do any of you guys have any favorite horror movies?
Oh, the scariest one. Okay, I haven't watched any, like a lot of them, so I can't like say I'm not like a connoisseur in like scary movies. But the one that scared me the most was The Conjuring 2. Like I couldn't sleep for a week. I was afraid to death. And then I didn't watch The Conjuring 1, and when I watched it with IEEE, oh my, I had so much PTSD. Like it was not even funny. I was like, bro, no, 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 no.
oh my gosh, no. Okay, that's like I think for college, like one of my goals in college is to like watch a scary movie because I don't think I haven't watched any, but like it has to be with like in person. I can't watch it by myself, and I don't think anybody would recommend that. But yeah, I think one of my goals is definitely to watch one with friends in person because I feel like I do need to watch a few now because like everyone's watching it.
Yeah,
But
scary movies in IEEE, you have to bring up Pranesh. That guy's the scary movie connoisseur. I don't think he has a soul anymore. He doesn't even like does he, I haven't seen him scared at all, like in a scary movie. Like he's
Like
insane.
on the camera, like you know how you can like see people's faces and stuff, and everyone's faces are like stressed, shocked. Like I remember I took like yeah, Pranesh is just like
Pranesh is just like, oh
poker
my
face.
gosh.
No, that's actually Cynthia. If you're gonna watch with friends, you need two types of friends. You need the funny friend, and you need the analytical one, the guy that's pointing out, discrepancies
oh
and
gosh.
like, hey, that door's not closed.
That's
you,
true. That's
you
true.
need both of those people, and you'll be fine. You won't be scared. But if you watch it alone, or if you watch it
No.
with Brian or something, then yeah, you're gonna be scared because you're both gonna be scared. But watch it with a funny and analytical person, and it'll be fine. Um, well, I think so. We've got about 1 minute left to the 45-minute mark, and I think we can start wrapping it up. But this has been a really, really good talk, though. Definitely enjoyed this, an all freshman themed podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed like the tips and things we enjoyed most about ECE at UT, some of the horror movies we talked about, and movies in general, and that weird philosophical question. I don't know. But yeah, I think
Viewers, if y'all have any other topics that you guys want us to talk about, then let us know in the comments on our YouTube channel or on this YouTube video. And so yeah, I would say this has been a pretty good podcast, so we can start wrapping things up. But yeah, thank you to everyone who watched our podcast. And do you want to say anything else, David?
all right.
Okay.
I guess the awkward wave.
Thank
Bye,
you
guys.
for watching.